think you're right. Made a key difference there. Yeah. Well, I think we're right here at noon, Mario. So as we welcome everyone, we'd like to welcome all of our students, our educators, and our guests. We're thrilled that you could join us for this live JA launch lesson featuring Mario Ciabarra. He is the founder and CEO of Quantum Metric, which is the Pikes Peak region's first billion-dollar startup. And yes, students, that's billion with a B. And while Mario's success is outstanding, he's here today to share the 3 core values that you can build into your life to help you find your own path to success in this way. And students, we'd like for you especially to take note of the chat. As you hear questions from Mario, as you think of those, I'll read some of those to him at the conclusion of the presentation, and we'll try to get as many answered as possible. So anytime a thought comes to you, feel free to write your questions directly into this chat, and we'll get as many of those answered as we can during our time today. Mario, always a pleasure to connect with you, and we're especially excited to share your voice with our students. Thank you for being here. I'm going to turn it over to you to get us started and share your story.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. Really appreciate the opportunity to share and spend some time with the students and educators and the team with JA. So thanks again for the invitation. I'd start off with, as we've all been through school, we've all been through high school and college. And I think as we go through that journey, there's this wondering, like, what do I do tomorrow? And I'll tell you, people always ask me like how I got to where I was, how I figured out this is who I wanted to be. And I think that what I would love to start with is I am still trying to figure out who I want to be when I grow up, Angie. And so there's this, you mentioned the word fear before we started the broadcast. And I think there's just this constant fear of like, when do I need to know who I want to be when I grow up? And I'm like, I don't think you ever need to know who you want to be when you grow up, and you figure it out along the way. So I just wanted to share that thought that kind of came to mind as if I put myself in the shoes of students watching today. It's there's a lot of fear of like, well, what is it? Do I want to be a unicorn startup like Mario, or what does my future look like? And I would say to students, I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. So a lot of flexibility there. But welcome everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your day today. Mario Ciabarra, founder and CEO of Quantum Metric. I'd love to take us back to when I moved to Colorado in 2003. I was working in the Bay Area, which Silicon Valley, some folks might like to call it, part of Silicon Valley. I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do yet. I was working in tech, and I just love to share a little bit about the journey, and then I want to talk about our 3 core values that we have here at Quantum, and kind of how I discovered or uncovered these are the things that make me want to come to work. And then I want to talk a little bit about the American dream and how that's kind of unfolded for me, and then I'll wrap up. So we've got about 15-20 minutes to do that share. So a little bit about as I moved into Colorado, I love to share this because this part is, everyone likes to ask, like, how do you come up with an idea? What was it, that inspiration? And I think, the thing I would share with most people is I don't have like a notebook that I write down every single idea. Like I have this kind of feeling, and I think everyone I've ever met in my entire life has these feelings of something that they're doing, something, I'm in a car and I wish my car could fly. I don't know. It doesn't matter what the idea is, but we all have these like, man, I wish this, or I wish that. There's something that's not quite smooth or perfect in our lives, and we wish for something. And that's that light bulb moment. Like, man, this could be better. I wish this. Then you start to ask yourself, well, who else wishes for those same things? And if all of a sudden you're thinking to yourself, a lot of people are wishing for that same thing. That's that light bulb moment for me to say, all right, I'm gonna explore this some more. So what happened to me when I moved to Colorado is I had this. I was working in tech right off Rock Rimmon, for those that are in the Colorado Springs area, and I was working on this software that helped you understand where bottlenecks on servers were. So if you guys have ever called up customer service and like, oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm pulling up your account and it's just taking a while, my computer's being slow today. That's the kind of work that I did. I tried to figure out, why was it slow? And I was working with some technologies. It was early on in this world of trying to figure out where bottlenecks were. And the technologies I was using, they weren't doing it for me. I had these wishes. I wished it would be better, easier, smarter. And I started to work on an idea of this on my nights and weekends. And 11 months later, I was extremely fortunate. In fact, I just got off with one of my mentors, and he said, luck is where opportunity meets preparation. So, I think I was prepared and opportunistic, and maybe some people say lucky, but I was able to actually sell my company for an amount so great that I never had to work again. And for me, I was like, great, I'm done working. I'm retired, and I traveled the world to 27 countries. And when I returned home, I realized that retiring at age 26 simply meant that I got to do what I loved. And I was already fortunate enough to be doing what I loved, which is creating technology, creating tech startups here in Colorado. And so I picked up an iPhone, and I thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if the iPhone had apps on it? This is in 2007. The iPhone had just come out. There was no app store. There was no SDK or documentation of how to create apps. So I know for most of the folks listening, there might be a gasp in the room, like, when was there ever not apps on the iPhone? I would probably just say, ask your parents. I don't know. But there was a time when there were no apps on the iPhone. And so I started thinking, like, I want to make my own apps. And so I started tinkering, or we might use the word hacking, on the iPhone. And I started hacking on the iPhone, and I ended up creating the notification center that Apple has today. I created it 5 years before Apple did. And it was just this idea of like, I wish, right? Back to this, I wish notifications would show up on my lock screen. I wish when a phone call came in or a text message came in, I could see it and I could reply to the text message right away. You guys take that for granted, but in the old phone, it wasn't there. So I did it before Apple did. And then I turned the iPhone into a Wi-Fi hotspot 18 months before Apple did. I thought, wouldn't it be cool? I have this device that's connected to the internet. I want to connect my laptop to the internet. I want to turn a Wi-Fi hotspot on. So I did that before Apple did as well. And then I created an app store outside of Apple's ecosystem, because Apple only lets you do certain things. They wouldn't let me do the really cool things that I was doing. It's something that was called Jailbreak, still called Jailbreak. It's not that popular anymore, but it was really popular back then. And I created an app store in the Jailbreak community, and I created a lot of success again, a lot of financial success. I had a lot of fun. But I realized I was yearning for something bigger. And I realized, I came across this other product in the analytics space. And I had that same feeling I had with the first company. Man, this is good, but I wish it did so much more for me. And so I went off and I met a gentleman in a chat room. It's kind of like, I would call it Discord for the younger generation today, but back then it was called IRC. And so I was in a chat room and I met one of the world's most renowned hackers. And he was a genius. And I said, why don't you move to Colorado with me and we'll go hack analytics? And he did. And we created a really great analytical product that helps you understand how websites are working and not working, and how apps are not working and not working, and where we can improve them, and how we align an entire company around what's happening to customers on websites and apps. And early on, we started getting really big deals from really large enterprises. If you go to our website, you see companies like Lululemon and United and American Airlines, really great brands, Under Armour and Neiman Marcus and Bed Bath Beyond, some brands that you guys might associate with. So either way, we had such early success. And I share this part of the story because what we had done really well was create product. And this is like a superhero talent that I have is I see it really easy to have an idea and how to make it come to life. But, making product is fun, but I really wanted to do something bigger. And I realized very quickly to do something bigger, I needed a lot of help. So I started hiring people, and I got to 15 people big, and 12 of us went to Las Vegas. And one of the newest team members sat down next to me, and they started talking, of course. And I hadn't talked to this person yet. They were new. It was a day before they started. And I realized about 30 seconds into the conversation that I never wanted to speak with this person again. And if scaling a company meant I had to spend time with people like this, I didn't want to scale a company. Luckily, I went to sleep that night and I woke up the next day and I realized that I was the CEO and I didn't have to hire people like this. And what was it about people that I loved? And what was it about people I didn't enjoy? And this is where I really want to talk about those 3 core values. And so for me, I started thinking hard about the people that I really enjoyed working with. What was it that I loved about them? I mean, they were all my friends in one way or another. I enjoyed spending time with them, but what was it that I enjoyed my day-to-day with? And the 3 core values are passion, persistence, and integrity. So I came up with those because, passionate people come to work because they love what they do. I don't really get a paycheck here at Quantum, I don't really care about that because I've been successful already. I don't come for the money. I come because this is what I love to do with my time. I'm very passionate about it. In fact, I'll share with you one really bad example of passion is one of our team members and I were on a call selling into Bed Bath Beyond 4.5 years ago. And halfway through the call, a woman started to scream in the background. And I said, John, what the heck is going on? And he said, oh, don't worry about that. That's just Ashley going into labor. Let's finish the demo. And look, I never, Angie's face is worth a 1,000 words here. And I'll tell you, I never wake up wondering, is John working hard today? John loves what he does. He's so passionate about what he does that he's sometimes confused about what's important in his life. And he loses track of time and other things that are important in his life. Now, I'll tell you, just so in case no one walks away wondering what happened, they have 2 beautiful boys. Ashley and I are still friends. And I don't think anyone was irreparably harmed that day. But if you ever wonder what passion is, that's a great example, maybe a bad example, depending on how you look at it. But it's an example of absolute passion. Persistence. I think the only difference between success and failure is that the people that fail stop trying. You can look at my successes and say, wow, Mario's perfect. I'm not perfect. It's crazy. I make mistakes. I don't have perfect assumptions. I don't have perfect hypotheses. I go out and prove them. And when it doesn't work itself out, I try again and I try again. And when from a leadership perspective, some people like to micromanage people, and they like to say, maybe kids can relate to maybe 10 years ago when they're in the car with their parents and they say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? I don't want to go and say that to my team. It doesn't feel good for them. Probably doesn't feel good for your parents, in case you were wondering. It's just not the right management style. And so for me, it's giving people the freedom to succeed. And of course, if they need help, raise your hand. I'm here to help, and anything I can do to help is great. But persistence is just about getting things across that finish line. And integrity, I've worked with people that have had the first two, passion and persistence, and they can absolutely make an impact. And that part is enjoyable. But if they can't be honest with me, themselves, our customers and audience, their peers, I just don't enjoy it. It's not fun for me. So these 3 core values, I'd love to share with you. I'm super smart and I came up with them, or someone just told me, or I read a book. But it wasn't. It was just trial and error. These are the 3 things that make me want to come to work today. There's about 375 people at Quantum Metric that share those same 3 core values. And you can imagine, and this is kind of the litmus test for me, is do I want to go and have an evening with any of them? I want to have a dinner with one of them. If I can't think to myself that I want to sit next to someone at dinner, why would I want to hire them onto my team? So these 3 same core values are just what helped us create a culture. And, if you're wondering what culture is, I didn't really know what it was. I had small teams prior to Quantum. My largest team that I had prior to Quantum was 3 people. At 375, it's a very different dynamic. And if you talk to me when I had 3 people on my team and you talk to me about culture, I'd kind of roll my eyes and just, what are you talking about? But as the team started to expand past 20 and so on, it is all about culture. It is all about people. It's all about team. I'd love to tell you about the product. I can show you all the features and the bells and whistles. But if you want to create a great success, it is simply about people. And so as you go through your high school and off to college, perhaps, or some of you, or hopefully most of you, as you think about that, think about the people that you spend time with. No one's going to care just about your degree, and your grade. And they are important, and you should work really hard towards them because people will assess you based upon those scores. But it's really how you interact with people. That is the key to success. And those 3 core values of passion, persistence, and integrity, for me, defines the culture of the people that I want to spend time with, the people that I think that I would love to work with and build not only just a culture, but a company around. So anyways, I wanted to share those 3 core values. As I mentioned, I wanted to hit one question. It's part of the journey. It's part of that moment in time for me when I sold my first company and I had more wealth than I could care in terms of needing to go get a job again. Think about this. We talk about in America, the American dream and the pursuit of the American dream. And for me, I was never really prepared for reaching the American dream. No one ever talked about what happens after you reach the American dream. What is life about? Why are we here? And for me, after reaching the American dream, I started thinking a lot about, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing for the rest of my life? And for me, it was a journey, an existential journey around happiness. Well, maybe people might say that the purpose of life is happiness, and then you start to say, well, okay, great, what's happiness? And so, one thing I wanted to challenge the students and then educators, really anyone that wants to listen, is, what defines happiness for you? What are you passionate about? Do not pursue a career, a job, an education because you think it's what you should do. Do not pursue it because it will make you money. I think you'll find yourself really in an unhappy situation in life. Those three core values, that first one, passion, for me, it's go do what you love. And if you follow your heart on what you love, life's going to be fun. And I wanted to maybe wrap up with this part of something I've learned a few years ago. I was attending a conference, and a social psychologist shared a little bit more about, they had done a survey. They went into people in hospice care, and hospice care is people that are going to pass. They're going to die in the near future. And they surveyed them and asked them, what is their biggest regret in life? And I wanted to share with you guys, as we wrap up, the top 3 regrets that they heard from folks in hospice care, because I think it will help as you guys begin to take shape of, what do I want to do when I grow up? What kind of career, what kind of major, who do I want to be later in life? And I think about passion, persistence, and integrity in this perspective. But the first thing the number one thing that they shared is that they wish, people in hospice care, the regret that they had, the largest regret before they died, was they wish they were more bold. They wish they were the person that they wanted to be versus the person that others wanted them to become. So I share that when I talk about passion, be who you want to be. Be bold. Follow your heart, and this is how you're going to be, I believe, your happiest in life, with the least amount of regrets. So I'm sharing this again to help you figure out, where do I want to be when I grow up? How do I create my happiness? And whether it's a unicorn or a $1 billion company, whatever it is, follow your heart, follow your passion, be you. And I know that in high school, it's really easy to just want to be that cool kid or be in that in crowd. But being you and being passionate, I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb, maybe still now, but definitely in high school. I wasn't conformist. I didn't fit into the crowd. I had some really great friends, but I wasn't that normal looking kid. And the non-normal looking kid ends up creating these crazy unicorns in Colorado, because we don't really listen. I listen a lot, but we don't really just follow the leader. We don't just follow everyone else. And I think being different is really critical. Follow your passion, follow what you want to be. And this is how you're going to stop from regretting, as you end your life, as you come to sort of the end of your life, being you and being following your heart, being true to yourself. I think that's just one of my biggest advice to students today is be you. The second thing they wish for is they wish they laughed a little bit more. So, you know what, being silly, I'm a really silly leader. I'm a really silly person in my personal life and my professional life. If you want to see something silly, I'll let you go to my LinkedIn. I'll encourage you to go to my LinkedIn and click on the pronunciation of my name. And I hope you guys get a laugh. But I am all about laughs. Sometimes they're inappropriate. I bet that happens in school a little bit. I would say try to be as appropriate as possible, but laugh a little bit. And I think you'll find yourself a little bit happier in life. The last thing is they wish they said, thank you and I love you. It's okay to be vulnerable. I say I love you to a lot of people. I mean, pretty much everyone all the time. I give a lot of hugs. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And so, when you think about it, as you guys end your day today, as you end your school day today, think about, for example, your educators. I'm going to be very direct. They do not come there for a paycheck either. They do not come there for some big paycheck at the end of their day. They come in there because they love the opportunity to make an impact on you. And so you don't have to say, I love you, your teacher. It might be awkward, but I definitely think that you can say, thank you. And if you said it every day to your teacher, I think you would give them a little bit, maybe a laughter, but definitely greater happiness in their day. So why not? It's not hard to say thank you to someone. Why not say thank you? And I think you'll have a little bit less regret. So I wanted to share the 3 core values that helped create a unicorn, a $1 billion company, the first one in Colorado Springs. I wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned about life and regrets. and really just being true to yourself, following your passions, persistence and integrity. It's something I learned in life. It took me about to my early 20s to really nail down what integrity meant. So I wish you guys all luck on those three. They're definitely something that you're going to continue to explore for the rest of your life. So thank you everyone for your time today. Thank you, Angie and Jay. And I'm happy to, if there's any questions that you guys got out of that discussion, I'm happy to respond.
Well, there are questions. What you're saying is certainly resonating. We're seeing comments like, great message, forward thinking. Really appreciate this. So, great advice. You're definitely hearing from some of those that are watching today. We do have a couple of questions. The first one is from Tony at Harrison High School. Tony wants to know, how do you find motivation to keep going every day and not procrastinate and wait until tomorrow? I think this is something we could all benefit from. So. Can you tell us a little bit about that drive to do it now and not wait?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you, Angie, it's not going to be the answer that the educators and parents are going to want to hear, and students. I have a mentor, John Chambers. He was the CEO and executive chairman of Cisco. He's 71 years old. For me, he created the greatest culture of humankind. He took a culture and scaled it to 80,000 people. He took a company that was 70 million in revenue, and he built it to $40+ billion. I mean, unbelievable success. And not only that, but the people and culture that he created or the team and culture that he created with the people he recruited was absolutely amazing. The funny thing is, he coaches me. He's, Mario, stop procrastinating. Mario, you got to come more prepared. And then I think after the third or fourth time he said it to me, he's like, you know what, Mario, I just have to tell you, I was just like you. I was always last minute at everything. Now, it's always better if you come prepared, and I can tell you all the benefits, but I was just like you. And I'll tell you, for me, and there's so many things that pull me in different directions, I find that I am best under pressure. So I like doing things just before they're due. So sorry, teachers and parents that are telling you, let's not procrastinate. I actually love the pressure of procrastination, and I'm sorry, but this is just the truth. But in terms of what motivates me and keeps me going, I love every day. There's always this saying, right, that if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. I don't know, like, that's kind of a weird thing for me, but it's definitely, I love every day of what I do. So I don't need anyone to push me. This is just what I love. This is what I'm passionate about. So there's zero need for motivation. I just love it. And I'll share with you, people ask me, what am I most proud of? What do I love the most out of this? And it was like the wins and winning, like some of the brands that we get to work with. They're really exciting, and seeing the company grow. But what I found is it's actually all about people. And so my stories, what I'm most proud about, they're all about people. And I'm happy to share some now or another time. But what motivates me is just being able to touch the lives of the teams that we work with, our partners that we work with, our investors, our advisors, all these great people. It is absolutely fun to get to know them and touch and work in their lives and touch their lives and help shape their futures and careers.
Yeah, no, it's always important to be honest. It's always important. And that'll help the students too with that, just take the energy of the last minute, but it's by the deadline, but it might be at the last minute, right?
Yeah.
Take that energy and use it. All right. Another question. What was the hardest part of starting your business? And is there anything you would do differently? That's from Miss Jacobson's class at Harrison High School.
Yeah. The hardest part is, for me, is the best part about it. What excites me is the people. The hardest part is the people. And I think early on, I wasn't quite sure how to let go. I wasn't quite sure how to empower the team to get to success. I wasn't quite sure of who to hire. And I think those are things you figure out. Probably my biggest light bulb moment is that hacker, David, co-founding engineer here at Quantum. He was better than me. He was smarter than me. He could do things better than me. A lot of leaders kind of like, hey, get out of the way, I'll do it myself kind of feeling is in the back of their mind. And I think when you find someone better than you, and this is what my number one job today is to find people that do my job, find people better at me than doing my job. So the hardest thing was letting go. And I think the best way to do it is find people better than you. And when you do that, it's easy to let go because look, they're better than you at doing it. So the other part was really around that, finding what are the core values, what is the culture that I wanted to build. And as soon as I did that and I let go, like the company blossomed. So find the culture, find people better than you, and then magic happens.
And can you tell us a little bit about mentors and letting a role model in your life? Have there been mentors and role models in your life that have helped guide you on this journey?
Yeah, I mean, so the largest team I think I mentioned was 3 people before this. I have 375 people now on the team. I'm outside of my experience zone, but I'm not outside of my comfort zone. When I find myself there, I look to, first of all, who do I admire? Who do I look up to? Who's been ahead of me? Who's done this before? Who can I learn from? So I actually, and so hopefully no one judges me for this, but I crashed a party in Portugal, and there was John Chambers, the CEO and executive chairman of Cisco, who was hosting the party. And I was able to meet John and made a relationship. And fast forward 5 years later, I went fishing with John for a week in Alaska 6 weeks ago. We have a really great relationship. He's an advisor, a mentor, an investor, now a board member. So he's kind of like my boss. But most importantly, he's my friend. And the best thing I can tell you about finding mentors: find someone that you want to be like, and what are the attributes of them, and learn from them, and come very prepared. It's not they're going to teach you, and because I think in class, and in a class teacher relationship, you come in and they just tell you what to do and they give you your syllabus. In a mentor-mentee relationship, you've got to put a lot of more energy in as the mentee. You've got to come ready with questions. You've got to help shape the relationship. You have to ask, what do you need help with? Because the mentor doesn't know. There's no syllabus. There's no specific direction like you have with your teacher. You've got to work hard. So go seek out mentors. I love my mentors. I have a half dozen of mentors that I speak with on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, asking them questions and all the things I don't know about, so they can teach me what they've already learned.
Two keys there. One, asking questions, being willing to ask questions, and you talked about hiring and working with people that you would call smarter than you, or and bringing those into your life, but also being willing to learn from them, and being willing to ask the right questions is so important. When we also talk about, you had mentioned being bold and being willing to stand out. Can you recall any experiences in those years that helped you as students really say, okay, I want to be different, but that's hard, right? How do they find the confidence to say, I'm not going to go to that event. I'm actually going to work on a coding project, even if I don't look cool when I do that, right?
Yeah, you have so much free time. One of the things I admire most about being in school, and I remember when I was in college, especially, I took all that free time and I invested some of it. Some of it I had a lot of fun. Just, I have to be very direct, but I had a lot of fun in school. But I also had a lot of free time, and I invested that in different kinds of projects. I got involved in, for example, in college, I got involved in the student council. I got involved in the marketing association, the finance association. I got involved in student organizations, and it were great ways for me to test leadership, to test how do I grow myself. And if you pay employees, you kind of have this thing you hang over over them, like, I'm going to fire you, and you're not getting your paycheck if you don't do a good job. When there's no paycheck, when there's like, no, you can fire me, I don't really care, because you're in a student organization, you've got to really motivate people. You have to have like exemplify leadership, in those experiences. So I would say, get involved, spend time in those organizations. They really helped grow who I was. And, if it doesn't look cool, I mean, I'll tell you, my mom always told me I was cool, but, we actually won an award 2 years ago. It's called the Gartner Cool Vendor of the Year Award. I'm like, finally, someone else besides my mom thinks I'm cool. But, I would tell you, I don't really care. I'll share one quick story, is that when I was doing the iPhone stuff, I was kind of upsetting people because I was charging people for these cool apps that I was creating, turning your iPhone into a Wi-Fi hotspot. A bunch of people wanted them for free, and they judged me. And I had about a few tens of thousands of people on Twitter yelling at me, saying I wasn't cool. It wasn't cool to charge people. I was a bad person. They didn't like me. And you know what? Probably 100 people on Twitter makes you feel really bad. Tens of thousands of people on Twitter can make you feel really, really bad. I don't care. I have this really thick skin. I'm confident about who I am and who I want to be. You can call me names and it doesn't really affect me. So that thick skin, I know it's easy to say, it's hard to find, but believe in yourself, have that self-confidence, know who you want to be. And it makes it a bit easier to ignore the tens of thousands of people on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever we want to associate with. You just have to believe in yourself and surround yourself with people that believe in you. Makes it a lot easier. You don't have to do this mission alone. Find people that believe in you. I love surrounding myself with people that believe in me. It makes it so much easier to have that self-confidence.
Oh, that's brilliant. And you mentioned your mom. I mean, also knowing whose voice and opinion of you is so important. So, who in your life is most important? In that case, for you, that was your mom, and having her approval was important for you at the time. So, knowing whose voice to listen to, and who you can really take and say, okay, this is something where I can get better from, and this is something that I don't need to listen to this voice. That, being able to choose between those is important. And we have a question from the Colorado Springs Hispanic Business Chamber, great partners of ours at Junior Achievement. They want to know, what would be your advice to individuals who are seeking to start a business, and what are key steps to position them for success? Just like some of those logistics when they just have the idea in mind.
Yeah, one thing I kind of missed, I didn't go back to my youth, but just to jump back, my father immigrated from Italy, and when he was in his mid 20s, I had five siblings. I'm the youngest of six. There's something about, if you look at a lot of startup founders, they're immigrants, and it's something about, I grew up in a neighborhood that was pretty well off, but my family wasn't. It was in a 1,400 square foot home. It was really tiny. It's definitely in the standards of Colorado Springs. It's really, really tiny. But I grew up in a really small home, surrounded by people that had wealth, but my family didn't, and it helped inspire me. Like, you know what? There's no reason that I couldn't go find my own wealth, and this is what happens for a lot of immigrant first generation families and individuals. So, with that motivation, I started early on in entrepreneurial endeavors. I started selling candy in school. I don't want to get anyone in trouble again, but there's a lot of things that I probably shouldn't share, but I do it anyways. But I started selling candy in school, and that kind of worked out. And I got a job when I was 14 in retail. And at 15, I decided to start my own company because I saw people. I worked at a GNC, and I saw people really investing in some vitamins, and it was actually like a diet loss program. And I thought, well, that actually sells to the owner of GNC at about $20, and people are willing to spend 50. So I wonder if I buy it from him at 20 and I sell it in the mail for 30, I wonder what would happen. Anyways, the short of the story is it didn't work out. I lost a couple $100, but here's the key. I wasn't scared to start that one, and I wasn't scared to start the next one. But people really fear about starting companies. How do you do it? I'm like, you just do it. You just start, and then you take. How do you, like? I don't know where to start. You just, how do I form a company? You Google it, and then you get through that, and then you form a company. You feel really proud. You're like, all right, what now? Well, now you have to have an idea. You have to have a product. You have to reach your consumers. Like, if you just take a step and then another step. I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. It's 19,100 feet, and they have a saying. The Sherpas who helped carry water and stuff and supplies, they have a saying, "Poli poli." It's little step and a little step. And if you put all those little steps together, you get to the top of the mountain. So really, starting a business is just the same thing. Take a little step and a little step, and eventually you're going to be at the top of the mountain. And by the way, that first company was a massive failure. And you learn from your failures. You probably learn better from your failures than you do your successes. We're most of a product of our failures than we are of our successes. So take a few steps, and then when you get lost, ask some people for directions. It's easy.
Yeah, exactly. Ask for directions, and ask those questions when you need to. These are also brilliant. And then we have one more from the Hispanic Business Chamber. What role do you believe small minority chambers might play in economic development? And do you think do you believe we have a diverse and inclusive business environment in the Pikes Peak region, where you actually were able to found your business? How were you able to navigate that?
Yeah, the last couple of years have really brought to light for me what is the role of a leader in a company. You go through school, grade school and college, and we have these teachers, these kind of guides for us in life, helping direct us. After we graduate, like, who's our guide? And if you're lucky enough and you're ambitious enough to find mentors, they can help you. But I think leaders and companies are there. They have a responsibility to help guide us. And so for me, there was a role in the last couple of years, with Black Lives Matters, with folks being affected with the pandemic and kind of the systemic issues that arose, the discussions that arose from hate crimes and other folks against the Asian and Islander community. I found, at first my mind is, well, I don't want to get political, and then I realized is my duty as a leader to help guide a discussion around the inequities that we have in our society. And so, as it came to diversity, and so I just wanted to talk about, briefly there. I think I have a responsibility as a leader to talk not just about how our company succeeds, but how we develop individuals, how we talk about diversity, how we talk about racism and inequalities in our communities and in our world. So I just wanted to just let that set in for a second. But when it comes to diversity, I read a fantastic book that was called The Medici Effect, and they started to hypothesize, where does innovation come from? And what they came to find out was innovation is most consistently at the intersection of domains. And so they gave an example as Darwin. Darwin was a geologist. He wasn't a biologist when he came up with the concept of evolution. And in fact, what they hypothesized were most biologists would never see what Darwin saw, because when you're classically trained, you have these guardrails and you're not quite sure how to think outside them. So you kind of try to fit everything in what you were taught. But when you're not taught anything, it's kind of like, the sky's the limit. You have no boundaries. And so that's how Darwin was able to come up with evolution. In that same concept, what we come to find is people with different backgrounds think differently. And so that diversity plays a role in success. So statistics time and time again show us that when you bring diverse people into an organization, they're way more likely to innovate. They're way more likely to be successful. So I would tell you, I am very selfish. I want to win. I want to be very successful. And in doing so, you come to find out that diverse organizations are much more likely to succeed. So do I think that we have a diverse environment? I can tell you we've hired diverse. And I'll tell you, I would never give a job to someone because they're diverse, because they represent some different part of I hire the best world talent. But I will tell you an observation that I have is when I hired a woman leader to run our marketing team, and I looked around our marketing team, like, wow, there's a lot of women in our marketing team. And there's a lot of men, by the way, in marketing. There's not like a women run, part of all organizations. But I found that if we get diverse hiring leaders, they end up hiring people like them, and we get a much more diverse organization. I don't want to set criteria on limits. I don't want to hire someone because they're a woman or because they're a minority or whatever it might be. I want to hire the best talent, but I know that if we have a diverse organization, we will be most likely positioned for success. So hopefully that answers your question. I do think we have a diverse environment. I do think we can do better. I do think leaders have a responsibility to have these real conversations and not ignore what's happening in our communities and their societies, and help bring justice across all humankind. But hopefully that answered the question.
Absolutely. And that responsibility as a leader that you speak to is so important, right? Well, we are at time here. Students, educators, guests, we'd like to thank you for joining us. And Mario, we, as always, are grateful for your time and to you for sharing your insight today. If you missed any of this, or you know someone who might have missed this and you think they would benefit from it, we encourage you to let them see the recording, which will be on our YouTube page just later today. We are so grateful to you, Mario. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate you being here. Best wishes to you. Best luck. Best of luck. We are all so inspired and impressed, not only by your success, but by your character. And I think that's something that truly comes across when you're able to speak with the adults and professionals and peers that you work with, as well as with our students here at Junior Achievement. Students and educators and guests, thank you for being here. Mario, thank you. We look forward to remaining connected with you. Thank you all for inspiring tomorrows with us here at Junior Achievement.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Angie.
Yeah.